The QB Chronicles, an SMU football podcast with Garrett Gilbert and Kyle Padron. Join former SMU quarterbacks Garrett and Kyle as they break down each week's game, offering insights from their own experiences on the field. In addition to game analysis, we'll also bring you special episodes featuring interviews with past and present SMU players, sharing their stories and perspectives. Whether you're a diehard Mustang fan or just love football, this podcast is your go-to source for all things SMU football. Pony up!
Welcome back to the QB Chronicles. I'm Kyle Padron, joined by former Washington football team quarterback Garrett Gilbert.
Among many. What's going on, man? How's it going?
Good. Just out here with my family in Seaside, Florida. So I don't know if you can see the backdrop.
We're both in foreign locations. I'm usually sitting behind a wall of bourbon and at home, and I'm at the office. And you're off in Florida with the fam, huh?
I'm sure you and Kyle have some bourbon at the office, knowing you guys.
There may or may not be some. Short walk away from here.
Love it. But all good. Just getting set up in Florida, and glad to be back with everybody. And the Missouri State game, we'll jump in here. That was, I'm sure you were watching as well, but that was tough to take in for the first 15 to 20 minutes of that game. Seemed like we got off to a slow start. I don't know if it was just sluggish with the name of the opponent. But we did not get off to a good start, the fast start that we're accustomed to seeing, and ultimately turned it around. But, felt like the first 20, even 25 minutes, the last, 5 or 6 minutes or so in the first half, they picked it up. But just seemed to be a very uninspired group, undisciplined, for the first 3 weeks of the season, including Missouri State. Just didn't feel like we were ready to play, and got punched in the mouth early by Missouri State. They obviously had a big game. That was their first home FBS football game. Sold out crowd, smaller stadium, sure, but seemingly a nice environment to play in. Our good buddy Taylor McCart on the call was
he was. Taylor did a great job.
But would love to get your take on what you saw from SMU Missouri State.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. You're just looking at the box score, and a couple things jump out at you, namely the penalties. I mean, that's kind of been the bugaboo the first couple of weeks. It wasn't. We talked about they did a better job against Baylor with the penalties, but it's too much, and you just keep shooting yourself in the foot, and eventually it's going to bite you. And when you're playing, like, give respect where it's due. Missouri State played well. They marched right down the field. Took a 10-0 lead into the second quarter, and but SMU was a 4-touchdown favorite, and so I think it's hard to get up for those games. I mean, I got a few texts, and this is not to disparage Missouri State, but I got a few texts that they're a Division I football program now. Is their first home game as a Division I as an FBS team. Wondering why in the world SMU was going to Missouri State, and obviously we had scheduled a home and home with them, and I'm sure it is tough to go up there and play, but when you're playing a team like that, and SMU wants to be the program that, number one, we saw last year, and number two, we feel like they can be. You don't let teams like that hang around. I mean, maybe every once in a while you sleepwalk. You see those, you see the Alabamas and the Georgias. I'm thinking of all the SEC schools that randomly will play Samford or the Citadel Week 10. Maybe you kind of sleepwalk through it, but it looks dominant. We're not really scoring, and they're just kind of. Maybe they're just kind of goofing around on offense and trying some stuff, but they're not giving up 275 yards through the air and having guys kind of run wide open for the first quarter and a half. Now, we did turn it on. They started playing well, but you can't do that every week. You can't just flip a switch. And so I think that's probably the disappointing aspect of the game. I mean, obviously, number one, first and foremost, SMU's 2-1. There was a decent amount to like in terms of 450 yards, 281 yards passing the ball. I mean, Kevin's accurate with the football, 24 of 36. But we still have some careless plays, some careless fumbles, a careless interception over the middle of the field, kind of late, trying to throw a dig route. And, I'm a little bit and just sort of wondering out loud. It's really fun to watch him play, but I'm wondering a little bit if, last year he was out there playing for the first time. A lot of what he was doing was just reacting to what he's seeing. He didn't I'm sure he knew the offense, but, you and I both had a coach, Dan Morrison, who used to love to think about the psychology of the position. And Kevin is probably mentally just at another step up this year. And I think, there may be times where he's trying to do a little bit too much now because he does see stuff, but it's just not quite unconscious in terms of being able to play fast. Like the game slowing down in terms of, hey, I see these coverages. I see where the ball should go versus this coverage, but it's just not happening as fast as it was last year, because last year it was almost like, see ball, hit ball, see an open guy, throw it. It wasn't really, and I think now he's considering a lot more. And De'Eric and I and you talked about that actually at the luncheon, about how Kevin really took it upon himself to take the next step mentally. And I think this is the next step mentally. But there are some growing pains in terms of, just totally trying to be in command of the offense. And so, again, this is certainly not a slight, because I think he is still doing some phenomenal things. It just so happens that it feels like we're making a few more mistakes, and probably a lot of that is taking some things on himself as the commander of the offense. Whereas again, last year it was like, point and click, like, he was not
almost like backyard football.
He was not real concerned with what the defense was doing. It was like, hey, this is my first read. All right, he's not open. Boom, I'm going to throw it to my second read. And of course, when you have good coaching and you can scheme some guys up, that happens. And so we're dealing with a lot of things in terms of new weapons, new this, new that. But I think there may be some of that in there with Kevin just trying to take more on as the quarterback. And I think in the long run, it'll really benefit him, because eventually he's taking all this information in and he's going to be able to compartmentalize it and only see what he needs to see and get back to playing really fast.
Yeah, I think that's just a natural progression in the quarterback maturation process. I think I experienced it. I came in my freshman year, and then my sophomore year was a little bit different. I'm sure you had the same experience, but I think that's another great example is Arch Manning. I think Arch is going to be good long term, but I think he's struggling with some of the same things, just processing the game at a faster speed, being the guy this year. But I think a great example of what you're talking about, and I thought Kevin did on the interception he threw I think it was the first drive. He gets through his first progression, maybe it's 1-2 on the left side, comes back to the third, and it's a little late. He's obviously got a second defender there as well, but I think he got through his progression and threw the ball probably to the right person. I think he was just a hair late. And so he's getting through his reads and he's got more to think about. But I think he just got there a half second late, and that ball gets tipped up in the air and intercepted. So I think he's continuing to get better. The stat line, 24 of 36, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But he continues to do great things, extending the pocket. Thought he made a couple of great plays. Jalen Cooper, RJ, some key throws, third down throws, one specifically where he was targeted. And somehow those penalties were not upheld. 2 targeting penalties in 1 play, both overturned. But
that was wild.
He continues to do great things outside of the pocket. And so I think a lot to be positive about with Kevin's game. He's going to continue to grow, but certainly want to get off to a quicker start and try to minimize those turnovers.
Yes.
We also saw Romello Brinson was benched for the first series, and I think that was an effort to try and get his attention, more detail on just the discipline of the game. Can't do those mistakes, and unfortunately, and gets the blindside block. It's the game is different now. You can't make that block. Certainly, as a fifth-year guy, you hope he understands that. Just get in the guy's way and do your job. But unfortunately, comes away with another personal foul the first series he is in the game. And then shortly after that, it seems, just the snowball effect. Got to get this kid out of his head. But he tries to switch hands, put the ball on the outside arm, which is, fundamentally sound. I get it. But he just fumbles. Right. And
we don't do it in traffic, right?
So want to see Romello get his confidence back, still play with some swagger, but got to tone down the penalties.
Yeah, because what we have seen from him is extremely talented. I mean, he has made some phenomenal catches. He's made some phenomenal plays. He's electric after the catch. And, and so I think trying to get that just harnessed and moving in the right direction is exactly right. So you got the nail on the head there.
I think he's going to be twice as good once we get Jordan back. We need another threat. I think Jalen's done a good job filling in.
Well, and speaking of, I mean, I think Jalen Cooper did a phenomenal job kind of stepping up. I mean, you're seeing him have 5 catches for 68 yards, made some really good plays, made some tough catches. They're one positive that I do have on the offense is, I mean, like, we're not dealing with a game, unfortunately, that, every player on the roster got to play, right? Like, this wasn't a game where you could just throw everyone in there at the end, but we still had 9 guys catch passes. And so being able to spread the ball around, you had some receivers make plays. RJ got back involved. Hibner got back involved. Like I said, the running backs getting in there and all kind of making some plays.
Amir Knight as well. Excited to see him get some more touches too. Seems like he's going to be able to do a lot of good things with the ball in his hand.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so that's a positive there for the offense. Let's talk about the defense. Starting on the positive side of the ball, forced 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions by Jacob Clark, who early looked, kind of all world, just dicing the defense up for a little bit. And then I think things majorly tightened up. That would be my first positive. My second positive would be Missouri State going 0 for 12 on 3rd down and 0 for 1 on 4th down. And that's what we talked about in the Baylor game. That's what we talked about in the Baylor game being the necessity is to get them off the field, and we weren't able to do it. This week, that's really the difference. And, the first couple drives, number one, we weren't even getting them to 3rd down. And then the rest of the game, things really tightened up. So hopefully some stuff there they can build upon and start looking at positives for hey, this is the stuff that we need to see. The level of opponent certainly matters, but this is the stuff that we need to see in terms of getting off the field.
The 5 sacks you mentioned last week, we didn't get a whole lot of quarterback pressure. It was nice to see we had 9 tackles for loss in the game and 5 sacks as well. So good to see the defensive line and linebackers get involved. And I think leads to turnovers, leads to some opportunities for our offense to get back on the field and go score after a quick change. But a lot of positives. I think they responded well from the Baylor game. From Baylor to Missouri State, I think they answered the call, and probably a tough breakdown of that Baylor game in the film room. And they had some critical items that they were focused on for the week ahead. And I think they answered the call. They did great on 3rd down. They pressured the quarterback. They forced turnovers, and they did everything a defense is supposed to do to get you into a position to win a football game. And they kept us in the game for the first quarter and a half or so, and until the offense
bending and not breaking. And I think if we're again looking at positives, just improving as the game goes along. I think if my my napkin addition here is right, Missouri State had roughly 230 yards in the first half. And then the second half, the first drive, they marched down the field. It ends with an interception. And then the rest of the game, they got nothing. And so, another, sort of obviously tougher than you'd want opponent, tougher than you'd want, closer than you'd want game, but looking for positives there. Now we got to get ready for the Horned Frogs.
Yeah. Still saw. Probably you mentioned earlier, too many guys running open downfield. Still felt like we gave up a lot of big plays to a not extremely high-powered offense. But, Jacob obviously played pretty well. The receivers did some good things, made a couple catches that were pretty impressive over the shoulder, one specifically in the end zone. But still saw too many guys open opportunities. And their quarterback missed some as well. I think a couple of those 3rd down conversions that they didn't get were, errant throws on his behalf. And so I think we got lucky on a few of those scenarios, but that's just how the game works. But got to tighten our coverage a little bit, keep guys in front of us, and hopefully tighten up those windows and force some challenging throws going forward with a high-powered TCU offense and Josh Huber.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Do we have a Padron shot of the game?
I wish there was something I could do on defense just to give those guys a shout out, but they respect where it's due. Defense played well, but I'm going to go be a homer. It was good to see RJ Maryland get back in the end zone. I think at this point it was 21-10, and this put the game out of reach for Missouri State. But again, going back to Kevin extending play as he gets outside of the pocket and finds RJ in the front corner of the end zone. RJ makes a great catch. Hopefully that inspires some more confidence in him going forward. But Padron shot of the game is only a 7-yard shot this week, but KJ to RJ Maryland.
Yeah, I love that. I'm here for it. You are a South Lake homer, and I'll accept it.
Tradition, baby.
I will go, just to give the defense a little bit of love, I'll go with with co-MVPs. I will go with Jalen Davis Robinson with 7 tackles and an interception.
Huge interception.
Yeah, no doubt. Agree. That was at a big time. I think they're going to take the lead again. And
it was 14-10 at the time.
Yeah, and he makes the interception in the end zone to preserve the 14-10 lead. And then, if we're just and so that's number one. And then number 2 is going to be TJ Harden. A great game by him, runs really hard. And he's patient when running. So continue to look for more
he gets
ways.
Better as the game goes on, almost like a Derrick Henry type. He's wearing these guys down, and he's tough to tackle. And later in the game,
he's hard to take down. Yeah, you're exactly right. I think that's exactly right. So co-MVPs there, TJ Harden and Jalen Davis Robinson. Does that put a bow on our SMU Missouri State game?
It does. Let's bounce around the country a little bit. Had some good games outside of ours. A&M went up to Notre Dame, wins a thriller 41-40. Tough day to be a placeholder at Notre Dame.
Boy, the NBC cameras sure knew where to find him on the last drive for the Aggies too. They were showing him while plays were going on. That was rough. I will say, I certainly don't want to take anything away from the Aggies there, but sure looked like a hold on the last play before Marcel Reed started rolling out to his left.
The Twitter sphere was saying it's a tackle, not a hold. So
no kidding. But nonetheless, as all my Aggie buddies have reminded me numerous times, don't care, and they're 2-0. So. Yeah, that's exactly right. And then another thriller, Georgia. Speaking of poor specialists, Georgia walks Tennessee off in overtime. Really thought Tennessee was going to win that game after a spectacular 4th down touchdown by Georgia to get to even the score up. Tennessee kind of marches right back down the field, and then I thought, again, this happened a few times. This happened in Georgia Tech, Clemson. It happened yesterday afternoon in the Indianapolis-Denver game. Yeah. Coaches seemingly get across midfield, and they're like, okay, cool, we got a 55-yard field goal. We're close enough. No. Outside of 50 yards is an extremely difficult field goal. And I get it. That's their job. But, that is not an easy kick. And so you got to stay aggressive. I mean, I even think SMU was maybe guilty of it a little bit last week. There was not a ton of time left, but we had with the issue with targeting on Kevin and that getting taken away. And then we were still, I think, we had to kick a 57-yarder. And so just because you get to the 40-yard line at the very outskirts of a kicker's maximum range doesn't mean you're in field goal range. And so, it worked out awesome for Georgia Tech on Saturday morning. Yeah. In fact, which was well done. They wanted to make it even more difficult and run it as a I can't remember the name of it now. But a fire drill or whatever, what have you. Made a field goal or something like that. And then Tennessee does the same thing. They get to, I don't know what the 30. Well, actually, Tennessee they got down there a little closer, and then they got a false start penalty that, put it back to somewhere around 50 yards. So, and then again, it happened in the NFL yesterday. There's my rant of the week.
Miami drilled the week 2 Cinderella, South Florida, 49-12.
Was that me saying that I thought South Florida might be a problem? I've told somebody that. I don't know if I said it on air, but I was impressed by them the first couple of weeks, and then as it turns out, Florida may just not be very good after their performance on LSU the other night. So
there's a cool funny beat going around about Texas, Florida coming up soon. I'll share that with you.
Yeah, there was.
Diego Pavia takes Vanderbilt up to South Carolina and beats the Gamecocks 31-7. And then you mentioned it earlier, Georgia Tech wins on a walk-off field goal, executed perfectly the fire drill, 24-21. Clemson's now 1-2.
Yeah, that's not a good start for a team that was, supposed to be back this year. A lot of talk about all their returning guys and how good they were going to be, the preseason number 3 team in the nation. Maybe finally embracing NIL, and they have just not looked very good on mostly on offense to start the year off.
Yeah, been a struggle for Klubnik early on here.
Yes.
Let's jump over to week 4 real quick. Obviously, we've got a big one to do a Pat and Go preview of the Iron Skillet at SMU TCU for the last time as scheduled. You also got the Red Raiders from Tech going up to Utah, play the number 16 team in the country.
I'm interested to watch that one.
Yeah, a lot of money out in Lubbock right now.
So, Tech has the most expensive roster that SMU can buy. What with David Miller's purchase of. Well, no, SMU. David Miller's purchase of Double.
You're right.
David Miller's private equity purchase of Double Eagle. Not that the Double Eagle guys needed that, but I just like to rip.
If they listen, that jab came from Garrett, not Kyle.
Yeah, it sure did. Illinois, Indiana will be interesting. See if Coach Sig can keep things rolling in Indiana. And so will Auburn, Oklahoma. You've got Jackson Arnold coming back home, playing against John Mateer, probably if the season ended today, Heisman winner.
Agreed. He's my Heisman hopeful right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the exception of KJ, but we gotta get him rolling here soon.
Absolutely. Well, let's. I think that's about all we got for today. We'll be back with a Pat and Go preview here shortly. But wrap up a 28-10 victory, and let's get over to Fort Worth and put a whooping on those boys this weekend.
I love it. I'm going to sign off with what we always sign off, which has become a bit scrutinized of late, but we look forward to still continuing the tradition and saying pony up, and we hope that sticks around. We'll see you all very, very soon. Pony up.